Okay, so we're gathered here at Darley Dale Cricket Club. It's the 5th of October 2017, and we're here particularly at this session to talk about what's called the glory years of Darley Dale Cricket Club, and three distinguished gents here who lived them, I suspect, and breathed them. So, gents, if you could introduce yourselves and what role you had in the 70s and 80s, that'd be really great. So,
okay, I'm Andy Topley. I started playing for the club 2 weeks before the Hampshire-Derbyshire game in 1975. I played in the first team throughout the 80s. I ended up opening the batting and the bowling at various times, but mostly opening the bowling with some very fine bowlers.
Great. Okay, Bob.
Bob Winthrope. I was first team captain for 24 years from I've forgotten when. Such a long time ago. And I used to open the batting, and I was a very fine googly bowler.
I'm glad you said
Some
that.
people might say other things.
And Richard.
Richard Johnson. I've been down here since the late 50s when I was knee high. Played in the first 11 and played during the 70s and 80s, plus times before that. The 70s and 80s was the best time. I was a batsman and a part-time bowler, basically. Bob used to look around the field and throw me the ball, and everybody else was behind there.
And you get a wicket.
And I get a wicket sometimes.
Oh, we all need somebody like that. That's great. Okay, so we're describing these as the glory years. And Bob, as you, the captain, perhaps you'd like to tell me what made them the glory years.
Well, I remember when we first joined the league, we'd only played friendly cricket all our lives, really, and it was a shock. The difference was a big shock. It was harder, the fielding was better, the bowling was more accurate, and the batting was more violent, shall we say. You know, whereas we'd bat all day and get a few, they slogged it quickly and got a lot. And it took us time to, to develop and to learn that and to adjust. But we did that, and we got a side together that was, I thought it was a treat to captain. We walked out on the field and we were fielding, and I didn't have to say a word, and everybody walked to their fielding place, and the bowler rubbed the ball in his trousers, and we were away. It really was a great side.
Well-oiled machine by the sounds
Yeah.
of it. Yeah. I mean, was it? Do you think it was a coincidence of people at the right time, or did you do some?
It was. I suppose it was years of
think it was
playing
probably.
together, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it happened in the 70s, and then it happened again in the 80s.
80s, yeah.
People just happened to come together at the right time.
Yeah.
Good players, very good players.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think they were also attracted by the reputation by then?
They're all local, really, aren't we?
Yeah, we had a lot of local.
There's only Andy Topley who was a visitor,
A lot of local players then in the side.
which is a good
In
visitor.
the 80s.
Yeah.
Although in the 80s we moved on, we had one or two who weren't local, but in the 70s they were mainly all local
Yeah.
players
Well, that's even more impressive.
who came together.
Yeah, it's very impressive.
We settled team, didn't we, Bob?
Yeah, we did.
Like you say, it
It was marvellous.
And you've got some silverware. Is that related to the glory years?
No, I think that's more recent.
Yeah.
More recent times.
So it didn't stop in the 80s. That's the important thing.
Because we joined in '65 the Notts and Derby Border League,
Yeah.
as it was called then.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was just our first team. My second 11 didn't go in until 1972, did it?
No.
Carried on playing friendlies. And like Bob said, we got used to it, and then in 72 and in
73, yeah.
we won the Notts and Derby Border League 2 years running. And the second 11 won it in 73, won their division in 72 and 73. So we didn't only have one good side, we had two.
Had two.
They
Really
clubbed
important.
into it at the time.
Yeah, and then the 80s, I mean, we were unstoppable initially. 82, 84 and 85.
And 85
We won the league.
champions of the Premier League.
And we attracted good players. PJK Gibbs, who played for Derbyshire for years, a real gentleman. retired from playing for Derbyshire, and he went round all the grounds in the not St Derby's Border League to find one that was suitable for him to play on,
Really?
where the wicket was flat. And he came here, and he was a great bloke.
Yeah. He was very funny, very dry, dry wit.
He didn't bat as well as we know he was capable of, funnily enough. He didn't get that many runs, but he was a damn good off-spinner. And they've never bowled for Derbyshire or anything, but it was a really,
He told me once, he said, I really enjoyed, I've not bowled, I won the bowl, I really enjoyed it. But he came up with some good one-liners.
Oh yeah, it was.
Was he batting with you on that occasion when he walked down and said, Bob, how do they expect me to bat with stumps like
That's
these?
right, he was. I was batting with him, yeah. He was a real gentleman.
Those old-fashioned stumps.
And
it was Phil, he used to Phil first slip, didn't he?
Yes, he
Next
did.
to Sid Quigley.
Yeah.
Right.
And somebody snipped one and say, was that Sydney, a rat? And, so he was, even then you could tell he was...
He's a clever man.
He was going to be a player, I thought.
Indeed.
It was great to have him in our team.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Yeah.
And then, shortly after that, in the early 80s, Phil Russell joined the club, and Phil had played for Derbyshire for years, and at that time he was the current Derbyshire coach. And he was a great bloke to have inside. He just lived, ate, drank cricket. He was. He had no other subject of conversation after the match. He just talked cricket. But he was a wonderful bloke to have in your side. We'd walk out to the field and the bowler would be ready to run up, and he'd say, well, I think we should just have, it's a little bit slow, so I think we should perhaps have third man a little bit wider, or fine leg a little bit wide, and he was always suggesting things without pushing himself.
Yeah.
And he was really good bloke to have on your side.
Yeah, sounds fantastic.
And that started us off winning the leagues in the 80s,
And
wasn't
in
it?
84, of course, we had our first overseas player.
Yeah.
One of the quickest bowlers I have ever seen. Well,
Me too.
the quickest bowler
Yeah.
I've ever seen in the Notts and Derby's or the Derbyshire County League. And as quick as anything at county level at that time. Derek Talagan.
Yeah.
Tell you more about it.
Well, this was down to Phil Russell coaching in South Africa in the winter. And he got in touch and said he's got this boy we thought would be a star in the Border League. Could we find him accommodation and feed him and perhaps a few quid beer money? But we didn't pay him, and we got him over here. And
Your house, didn't you?
yeah, he stayed at my house. And he was a great lad. Really was a great lad. Got me into all sorts of trouble. But he took 120 wickets in a season, which was unheard of, and probably at about 4 apiece. And he smacked a lot of runs as well.
If the wicket was hard,
Yeah.
at Heanor he got it turned into quite...
Yeah, well, I'll talk about that. At Heanor, he was batting number 4, I think, and we lost a couple of wickets early, and I was at the other end, and I was going steadily on, as I did, and I got 50, and we lost a wicket, and Derek came out to bat, and we were only chasing 255, it was, and at Heanor, that's not a lot of runs, and we had a little conversation, and he was going ever so well, and we both got to 93 together. 94. Both got to 94 together, sorry. So we had a little conversation, because we only needed another 10, I think it was. And we said, look, if we work it properly, and we'll get close to 99, and then, or close to 90, we'll hit runs each, so we can each get a ton. Right, Bobby said, and he goes back down to then. First ball, wham, hit it for 6 out the ground. So his 94 became 100, and I was left high and dry. But he was a great bloke, great player.
So how long did he play for you?
Only 1 season.
1 season?
Yeah. He could have gone right to the top of it. He enjoyed England very much. He said the girls were a bit loose compared to compared to how they are in South Africa. And he was a bit of a lad, and he enjoyed his partying more than the cricket, I think.
My abiding memory, Bob, is, I don't know if you remember, the first net session down here.
Oh yeah, I remember it. I remember it very well.
They set up the nets.
I know.
And Bob was very brave. And thought,
I wanted some practice.
I'll go in. I'll go in first. Don't worry, lad.
Yeah.
And I think Derek came off about 4 paces first
He did.
ball.
No.
And you managed just to get your bat down on it.
Yeah.
I think third ball, by the time he'd gone a bit further back,
Yeah.
your bat got halfway up and this ball whistled past you.
I didn't see it. It just whispered past me.
And all the colour drained out.
Yeah. I retired hurt. Yeah. Unhurt. I retired unhurt. Yeah.
He was quick.
Oh, he was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It could have gone right to the top.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, there were a couple of things that I remember those few years, in that we had another couple of South Africans after that, but we never employed players, never have done, and
No.
probably
Never will.
One of the great things that we enjoyed, our great rivalries then, were people like Langley Mill and Denby, and like Langley Mill were never short of 3 or 4 professionals. Whether
No, it's true.
Barrington or Morris or Tony or
Fred Rumsey played for a bit. Yeah.
so it was always great playing them. We had a very good record.
Yeah.
Langley Mill.
Yeah.
And Barrington. We used to like playing against Barrington.
Yeah. Yeah.
You at first slip.
And you got him with that little away swing. Yeah.
Snaffily took each
I
time.
know.
And the other thing that I couldn't fathom when I first came, I've been playing up in Yorkshire, and it was a fantastic batting side. It was such a strong batting side. And with Richard and Malcolm and Bob and Chris Room, of course.
Dave Holmes. Yeah.
And Bob was a school teacher, and Bob always used to have to disappear in August to go to Spain for a month. So the talk at the beginning of the season was, Bob's going on holiday, we've got to win this league. And we had to get enough points together to tide us through when, Bob was on holiday.
And invariably did it.
Yeah, invariably did it. I remember one season against Denby, we played him in the Derbyshire Cup final, but I think we also won the league that year.
Yeah, that's right.
The 3 times we played them were very similar games where, in all honesty, they should have won all 3 games, but you actually came and bowled them out.
Yeah.
They should have won it quite easily, and how on earth
They couldn't
smack
spot me
all over the
googly.
place?
Yes, I was going to ask you about your game. Yes. Yeah. It sounds special, that.
Yeah.
So you've got all these wonderful matches and so on. I mean, it's hard to say, pick one, I'm sure, but was there a particularly satisfying, you talked about one that you really liked, you talked about Langley Mill, and was there a particularly maybe a Nottinghamshire team you liked to beat, or any others, or just they came?
One that sticks with me was the cup match. Remember when me and you we put on 221?
Oh yeah, in the cup final.
In the Bailey Cup final.
Bailey Cup final, yeah. It was a record for Darley Dale. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my highest score ever.
Yeah. What was that?
147, wasn't it? Yeah.
What was your score?
I didn't get him a ton.
You didn't get? Oh, what a shame.
No, Bob kept pinching the ball.
Yeah, did.
Mind you, we could have run a bit, couldn't we?
We could, yeah. We got most of the runs in ones, actually.
We did.
So for fives down here. Yeah.
That story about Fred Rumsey.
Yeah. This, we talked about PJK Gibbs. Whereas we had 1 or 2 Derbyshire players, we had Phil Russell, opposing sides had retired Derbyshire players, or some who were still playing. And Langley Mill had got Fred Rumsey. Played for England, Fred, didn't he? Yeah. Langley Mill had got Fred Rumsey. And he came down here, and talking to him, he said that he was playing for Derbyshire against Yorkshire the day after, on the Sunday. Was it at Hena?
I think.
Yeah, I think it was at Hena, yeah. And anyway, during the game, Fred got 5 wickets against us, bowled very well, and he took a hat-trick, and it was the first hat-trick he'd ever got in his career. So he was dead chuffed, he was so proud. And Langley Mill were paying him. So he came in here afterwards, and he put his wages in the till behind the bar. That's for the beer, you see. Anyway, the night went on, to cut a long story short. Fred had 13 pint bottles of Newcastle Brown.
Wow.
Which we like a drink, but that's quite good going, particularly when you've got a tough match the next day. He had 13 pints of Newcastle Brown, and he drove home, which is stupid, but it happened. And the following day, the Yorkshire game, Yorkshire thrashed Derbyshire, and Fred sorry, Fred got no wickets for 60 runs in 4 overs.
Ouch.
And Brian Close hit him for 5 sixes.
Ooh.
And I went to school, I was a teacher, I went to school the next day, and at break time the secretary came, "I've got a telegram for you, Mr. Winthrope," she said. And it was days of telegrams rather than mobile phones or whatnot. And I read this telegram, and it said, "Bob, thanks so much for your hospitality Saturday night. I really enjoyed it. So did Brian Close."
Oh, wonderful.
And that was it.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
But he was a real character, 13 pint bottles of Newcastle Brown.
Yeah, that's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose people like that they do make a legend of themselves in lots of ways with
Yeah, they do.
things, don't they? They're really important. But just you mentioning there somebody like Brian Close, I mean, there was another tough competitor, so I'm
That's
sure
right.
that Mr. Rumsey did not enjoy that experience at all.
There's a number of tough ones, as you say, when we first joined the league. It was a bit of a shock.
Yeah.
I always remember going to Spondon. Albert Mays was playing for Spondon.
Albert,
Who was played for Derby County, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Was it Derby County
Football.
fullback?
Yeah, he was.
And I remember you picked up a ball and you threw it from the covers. But Albert was batting, hit him smack in the middle of the chest.
Yeah.
And I've never seen a glare like
No, I was running for cover.
I'm not surprised.
And it was kind of, just this taste of league cricket that we've not experienced, but we soon got used to it.
It's true, yeah.
Did you have as a club? Did you have a reputation with the other players and the other teams rather than players? Did they come to think, oh God?
We always got on very well with
Yeah, we had
most
some great,
of the clubs,
we
didn't we?
did have some great times with the Spondons and Galveston.
Alison Boltons, Corndons,
We
I can't remember any real activation.
No, not at all. No.
He's always played in a very good, apart from that time at Heanor when Malt picked up.
Oh, yes.
Well, that's better be one you end on. So what's this one then?
Go on, Andy.
We were playing Heanor, and Malcolm Johnson, Richard's brother, was bowling very well. He was a good bowler. And he was getting it to bounce quite a way, and the Heanor batsman couldn't really lay a bat on it. And in frustration, the Heanor batsman, what did he do?
It hit him, didn't it? It dropped down. So in frustration, he picked it up and threw it towards mid-off or mid-on. And
Malcolm appealed that.
And Malcolm said, "Hey, I'm going to appeal."
he said, "I could appeal for
Oh, yeah, I could appeal for that. And then he said, "I'm going to it." He goes, "How's that?" And the umpire went,
that to give it.
"Let's give him out." Yeah.
So it didn't go down particularly well.
Well, at the end of the match, the bloke who was given out came on with the bat, and Malcolm got hold of a stump, and we thought this is going to be it. But luckily, they shook hands and went off together.
That's great.
Interesting.
Yeah. Great glory days indeed. Thank you, gentlemen. That's great.